All right, and here we are. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and we are back. All right. We are back. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams. I am glad to be here. This is kind of almost part two of the last recording we had, minus the world famous Patrick Luther. Shout out to Patrick. We'll catch him on the next side. But guys, thanks for coming back. Glad to have y'all on the Working Title Show. It's
thank you, buddy.
Yeah, it's April. It's an April Fool's.
So beautiful yesterday.
Sure, it's April Fool's. Did you do anything for April Fool's?
I got April Fool's a couple times.
Did you really? Today? Like real ones?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Quinn Ewers is decommitting from the draft, and he's coming back to Texas, so Arch is going to be hitting the portal.
Love it.
And I got hot for a good hot minute, and then realized it was all a joke.
The one I saw, alma mater had its lawn turned blue to pony up, and they said April Fools.
Oh,
No blue lawn in Dallas at the Hilltop.
that's awesome. Well, so I hear you're starting a new company. And, not you specifically.
My wife started a new company.
And
she was actually here last week on the Jeff Crowley Show talking about her new company.
And
shout out.
Well, you had a really interesting day yesterday providing some business collateral for her business.
Well, it culminated yesterday. It started early one morning this weekend when my wife forwarded me a post.
Hey, why don't we take a look at that real quick?
Take a look at what? The post? Okay. Oh, actually, it is right there. I guess this is showing on the show.
That is in the parking lot right now.
That pink Bronco is in the parking lot right now. So I woke up, I think it was Saturday morning, I believe. And my wife sent me a post of that post you just saw of that pink Bronco to a Barbie themed song. And this new business that she's starting has the colors are pink, like hot pink. It's called Blow Dry Bar, and it's for women to get their hair blown out. And so their colors are pink.
I'm glad
it's a franchise.
Clarified that it was a blow dry bar.
Yes. Well, I've heard all the jokes. Okay. So yeah, I kind of know how to explain. It's fun to explain to men the blow dry bar.
Yeah.
I always get a funny little.
Are you a customer?
I went one time and I think the hair dryer was on too hot and it just blew all my hair off. It hasn't grown back since. So
bad experience.
Yeah. Stuff. But that was, that's a one-time thing.
Different blow dry bar.
Yeah, it was a different blow dry
hers.
bar.
Yeah, right.
So she sends me this Instagram video of this pink Bronco, and I just responded back like, haha, that's funny. And then she was like, well, I think that would be really cool for me, opening this blow dry bar, to have that pink Bronco. And I'm like, well, man,
and the next
stick out.
thing you are throwing bows with every 16-year-old girl in Denton County.
Well, my next door neighbor owns the dealership that this was at. And so I texted her, like, what's the story on this? And evidently that video got a lot of shares and a lot of play. It was really popular, but the vehicle is still there. I went, picked it up, brought it home. Amber drove it. And yeah, really surprisingly, she wanted me to buy that vehicle.
But it's a beast of a car.
It's actually a badass car. It's a Raptor Bronco. It's fast. It's awesome. It's just pink. It's hot pink. And so
that's a Raptor Bronco.
It's a Raptor
Bronco. It's awesome. So we leave yesterday or Sunday. We drove down to Round Top. It was my wife's very close friend's 50th birthday. So we went down. They're still down there, but me and her husband, my wife's friend's husband, we went down. We went out with them Sunday night. Then we woke up and drove back Monday. And so when I got back up here, I had to go finish buying this pink Bronco. Well, my wife is in Round Top in my truck. So I get the Bronco, everything's done, it's at home. And then I wake up this morning or last night, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, well, fuck, I have to go to Dallas.
That's your new daily driver.
Yeah. And I'm like, and the only vehicle, we have my son's Jeep and this pink Bronco. And so I was like, I have to drive that Bronco
Yeah,
to
you
Dallas.
can't
Attaboy.
send it
Yeah.
to Denton High and that thing.
Yeah, and then I had a luncheon at Perry's today, so I had to drive this Bronco to Perry's and valet it in Perry's Uptown, and then go through the luncheon, come back out. Everybody's there at the valet stand, and I got to, and then then this pink thing pulls up, and I got to get in it.
Oh, that's so
And,
good.
and drive, back down the tollway, and then over here, and so yeah, it's been quite the.
You need to get
I'm getting a lot of looks.
You need a pink mink to go with it. So you just, if you have to drive the car, you wear the.
Accessory.
I need
for
something.
sure.
Yes.
Well, one thing I notice is when I'm driving it, the cars will creep up next to me, and I'll feel eyes on me. And what it is, it's some dude thinking he's going to pull up and see some hot chick driving a pink Bronco. And then there's always this look of like bewilderment and disgust when they see me driving it, and not some hot blonde. And so, I've disappointed a lot of people, a lot of confusion.
That's so great.
But my hope is in a couple years or maybe shorter, my wife will, it's not the smoothest of rides. She's going from a Lexus GX, which is like the smoothest ride, to this thing. It's a little, it's an off-road vehicle. So
Yeah. Just launch the business.
she'll get tired of it. I'll pull that pink wrap off and then it'll be my toy. So
There you go.
There's a whole plan down here. She doesn't know the whole plan, but first part of the plan is hers. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's not what I expected, when I left work last Friday that this week would start this way.
Where's the location of the business?
It's in Argyle.
Oh,
So we live in Argyle.
good market.
And yeah, it's and Argyle's blown up over the years, and
Yeah.
now all the retail's
Pun
coming in.
intended, the hair's blown up as well, but
Yes. Exactly.
I'll stop. Yeah.
Walked right into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Too many.
yeah, we just selected the contractor. They're about to start construction, supposed to be open in June. And I tell you what, she's doing really great at it. She's got a lot of excitement around the town. And I would have never thought this was a thing, but it's a big deal. Like these blowouts are
Big deal.
yeah. So yeah, here we go. So my wife's she's excited about this. She's gonna do really well with it. So
That's awesome.
and now she has a pink Bronco to match.
Well, especially so being a dad of young girls, Sephora was not a thing 10 years ago for
Yeah.
young girls. But beauty products, treatments, and probably in teen years blowouts, like you've got a whole new market. That is like the thing for young ladies.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, this this past weekend was the Argyle prom weekend. Now she's not open, so she didn't have anything to do this.
gosh.
But the location she's been going to all these years when she was just a customer was just packed
So
with high school girls getting their hair done, before prom. And I'll tell you what, these proms that they do now. I mean, we were that age, we'd all pitch in and rent maybe a limo or something. But I mean, now this looks like, they're going to the Academy Awards the way they operate these prom nights. It's insane. So I need to start saving up now for my son's prom.
Luckily, you have boys, because with two high school girls, between fake tans, blowouts, makeup consultants, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, the blow dry bar does makeup too.
well, you catch me up, makeup consultant.
Yeah. You got to come over and pay money for somebody to teach you.
So they don't do the makeup. They just tell you about
They-
what you could do with the makeup.
It's a consultation of,
Makeup consultant.
yeah, which
I love it.
I won't go into super detail, but I did appreciate this makeup consultant that, the TikTok trend right now is contouring. And so if you don't know what
I
this
don't
is,
know what
it's where
that-
you make your chiseled, facial features really prominent. And this, and so as a dad, I'm thinking,
Is that what's different about you today?
yes, I've contoured right here. Yeah. Do you notice?
Yeah. I was like,
I
wow.
certainly do.
I thought, wow, Tyler has a strong chin today. I don't know what happened.
The eyeshadow that helps. Yeah. But no, as a dad, you're like, okay, this is getting too much. And this lady goes, my daughter's asking about contouring and blah, 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 blah. And she literally was like, look, that's for men who want to look like women. You don't need to, as a young lady, be doing that. And I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Not
like,
that there's anything wrong
yeah,
with that.
No, not that there's anything wrong with that. But
Glad you said that.
I'm glad that there are limits. Some people still have like, okay, You're a freshman in high school. We're not going to be doing that.
That makes me think of, was it the Jim Carrey movie, Me, Myself, and Irene, where he had that chin put on him, where he had that big like dimpled chin. That's contouring.
I went and saw that with my grandmother.
In the theater?
In the theater.
Alamo Drafthouse?
No. It wasn't around back then, but that's one of the only movies I saw. No.
I bet your grandma loved
the movie. Clearly, you don't know the movie.
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, you don't want to watch it with your grandmother. We were going to see a Jim Carrey comedy, thinking it was going to be Ace Ventura, and I was with my little cousins, and I made everyone get up and walk out of the theater.
There's definitely some scenes in there you wouldn't want to watch with grandma.
No.
I was this close to seeing this great new Scorsese flick was coming out called Wolf of Wall Street, and my mother-in-law and I were going to watch it.
Dear God.
Thank the good Lord above that timing miss. And I went and watched it with my brother-in-law, who's one of my best friends, and I was uncomfortable sitting next to him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, funny story about that movie. When I was at the prior company I am now, that movie came out over the weekend. I didn't see it. I go into the office that Monday, and my boss at the time, it's normal Monday stuff. What'd you do? And he's like, oh, I saw Wolf of Wall Street. And I was like, oh, how was that? Was that good? And he goes, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then he goes, you know what? You should take your sales team to see that movie. I think it'd be really helpful. And like, he was serious, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, you think? And he's like, yeah, you should take them to see it. And I had like a sales meeting like that week, and my sales team, consisted of, females and males of, a wide range of ages.
Yeah, coffees for closers.
Yeah. So he's like, let's see this. I'm like, okay, let's go watch
some motivation.
The Wolf of Wall Street is going to teach us how to sell stuff, whatever. And so we go sit down, and I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I think one of the very early scenes is where they have like the midgets and they're throwing them at the dartboard or something like that. And I'm like watching this thinking,
wow.
Okay, there must be a part where they must start getting real, sales oriented or something. And no, not really. Just quaaludes and, prostitution and, and all the other things. And so, the movie gets over, and I'm just like, oh my God.
HR nightmare.
Yeah. And they're all like, Zach, what were we supposed to learn from that movie? I'm like, ask my boss, because he said we should come to this.
It's just like epically bad decisions, right?
Nothing you should take to the workplace. Yeah. Maybe what not to do. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
He didn't tell me that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was hilarious. Yeah.
Aggressive.
So, all right. I'm glad we got all that out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. After this, we'll go for a ride in the Bronco. Y'all can check it out.
Victory lap. I'm in.
Yeah. So what's new with y'all? What's really interesting? I was just at lunch, and I guess I missed the news over the last few days, but somebody asked me what I thought about the Mavericks leaving town. And are y'all following this? The Mavericks leaving town?
The rumor weeks and weeks ago of them tanking the team and then moving them to Vegas or somewhere else, but I thought it was just a rumor, but
I guess there's some real legs to it. Dallas has been, amazingly, of all the cities in Texas that are growing, Dallas is the only one that's lost population. So maybe are they trying to lose their sports teams too? It's just
the answer I kept hearing back from people that thought they were experts was like, this is a top 5 media market. Why would you would never leave a top 5 media market? That's ridiculous. That's foolish.
Right.
Which,
right.
Pretty good point.
But do you think it's real?
It looks like now that what they're trying to do is really bring gambling into Texas, and if they can't get it done here, then they're going to try and ship them out. But I don't know. Do y'all want casinos in Dallas?
No.
I don't think that I do either. What do you think?
I think anything produces more tax revenue for cities is something I wouldn't count out in the immediate future. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm not saying I'm against it. It's just, I think it's a reality. And when you look at 2 of the key Sunbelt states that don't have it, and Texas being one of them, this is the crown jewel for the gaming guys.
Yeah.
So, which I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But my, cheap seat opinion would be, this is the Super Bowl for them, and that every stone will be unturned to try to legalize gaming here.
Well, I mean, if just from a devil's advocate point of view, I mean, it would be a boon to real estate, no doubt.
Yep.
But I don't know. I always think about when you ever, I mean, I don't go to WinStar a lot, but like last time I was there, one thing I always notice as you're like going in, there's always like some people laying on the pavement outside, and I'm like, that's kind of like the underbelly of gambling, brings in is.
Mine's a personal deal. I just like to keep my gambling far away from my home so that
it's a destination thing.
Yeah. I don't need to be tempted every single day on a Tuesday to go play slots. Not that slots are my thing, just,
I mean, you can drive an hour north to do that. I mean, do we need to be able to drive, 5 minutes?
Yeah. That's too far for me to do on a Tuesday. I got
Yeah, I usually don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. So soon we'll have no Dallas teams in actual Dallas. Okay.
Right.
Almost have it fully accomplished.
Don't lose hope yet. But I think we'll be okay if you consider the Dallas metro area. I feel confident we'll be okay there. But
we don't have mountains and we don't have oceans, but the good news is we won't have sports teams either. So,
but we have fire ants.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We have fire ants.
We have fire ants.
Yeah.
So would that be, if that was to happen, would that be a segment of business that y'all would look at with the type of projects y'all like?
It's a segment we need to understand.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, the idea of when me and this guy entered the business, it's like pockets of NOI are separated. It's a bunch of folks in suits and white shirts and ties, selling real estate, and office was office and multi was multi, and damn sure retail was retail.
Yeah.
Now with capital, your real, solid, core LPs understand the power of mixed use and experience driven NOI. You got to understand it. But it's interesting because it brings in some really big players.
Yeah.
Right. When you think about arena driven development, well, that's kind of your loss leader. Not much different than Target or HEB.
Sure.
A casino in that model, right? I mean, Tyler's business, we talk about, regional draws. What's a more regional draw than a casino?
And it's not a loss leader.
It's not a loss.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I heard they do okay.
But, real estate operators aren't going to get their hands on that income. That's going to stay with either the tribal, the sovereigns, or SANs or groups like that. But to answer your question, I think it's going to be a really interesting thing that the market needs to adjust to and understand.
Yeah. You mentioned tax base.
Yep.
I don't even know how gambling is taxed. Like, is it just a piece of the revenue? It's just revenue like everything else, so they just tax it as revenue?
And
I would assume,
unless there's a particular statute that
higher tax on gambling kind of thing.
And sometimes with the sovereigns there is, but if you think about it, if you're a city manager, which I'm not going to speak for any city manager, in DFW, and you're looking at those dollars leak out to, casino X, Y, or Z on the border, you'd have to some degree want to kind of capture that back in your own jurisdiction. So I just think in this world of increasing costs, anytime you can find incremental revenue, people are going to look hard at it.
Right.
Brilliant idea. I got a brilliant idea. Okay, so we're going to add a casino right here to Lincoln Center. I'm going to call them after this, and we're going to figure this out. But once it passes, we're going to put it right there. There's a plenty of room. We can we can put a Bellagio fountain next to that lake. But here's the kicker. Everybody that works here, payroll's on the other side of the casino. You got to go through the casino to get your Friday paycheck. It's going to be a barn burner.
And if you want to go
back through to the parking deck.
Back through to the parking deck.
If you want to go down on Monday, we'll advance you.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll advance you on your trip.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, we went straight to the underbelly of the casino.
Sorry, I had to.
No, that'll be really interesting if that happens. I'm just curious. But to your point, if they're thinking about it and we don't get in on it, then one of our competitors, one of our neighbors will jump on it.
Wherever that decision is on such a high level.
It's done great for Shreveport.
Don't zoom in on me. I'm a Louisiana native. I'm pulling for everybody.
Yeah.
So how many mixed-use projects, NDAs included, you don't have to name them, but are you working on currently?
8.
8.
Yeah.
How many have arenas?
5.
And
when you say arena,
Yep.
is that an amphitheater? Is that where do they play basketball? Is that a football stadium, or do all those come into the arena definition?
So great question. Amphitheaters are great because they don't cost a lot.
Yeah.
And they're, pretty versatile programming. Let's just kind of go through that real quick. The toughest would be football because you have the hardest to program, the most capacity, the most fixed infrastructure,
the most parking.
Mm-hmm.
The best or a very advantageous is basketball, indoor. You're in that kind of, 8,500. Now it's about smaller and more amenities.
Yeah.
You look at your university, I think the capacity is 12,000.
2 weeks ago, for the very first time, I watched Texas play OU in their last game of the season at Moody, and that place is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
It's the best
It's phenomenal.
arena I've ever
Where's
been.
Moody?
Moody is at Texas, University of Texas.
Okay.
It's small, intimate. They actually have an upstairs, like a second level, but it's completely covered by retractable screens. So the whole thing's screens 360, and if they want to, they can raise that up for bigger capacity. But man, it is the coolest, loudest,
And that's where they play their games.
and it feels like you're right next to the court, no matter where you're sitting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's the schools that are looking, from what I've heard, that really is the high water mark.
Oh, really?
People look at it and just are in awe of it. It's
Yeah,
a
they did a
phenomenal
great job.
facility.
But the basketball facilities they're great because there's so much more functionality outside of the game. You can have concerts or events.
230, 240. If you can program that facility over 200, but really over 230, 240 days, nights a year, you're really getting great use out of that and the district benefits.
Yeah.
Right. So OU, which we talked about last time, you're looking at an 8,500 seat arena with about 140,000 feet of retail, several phases of multifamily. And then you've got office. The University of Oklahoma has Doppler radar at its core, really, of its research. National Weather Center is in Norman, Oklahoma. So you've got interest from the general defense contracting community. So office right on top of all this activity, that arena becomes like pretty dynamic, right, for everything that's happening. If that were a 65,000 seat football stadium, it's kind of a different ball game.
Right.
How you create all of that surface parking. So it's a tougher draw, particularly in sports, with some of these larger NFL stadiums that you're looking at. NBA work, college basketball work is pretty fantastic. There's an arena with a project we're working on that is operated mostly for concerts, and there's an amateur sports team that plays there. But when big acts come through the community, that's where they play. So the idea is kind of how to bring that live and work and retail experience in adjacent to those arenas.
Does a market like Norman you see something like that happen in the Metroplex, and it's going to be utilized by every possible person that could use it. Norman's a smaller market. Does it make it harder to?
It's just like, and I'm really speaking for, the pros that operate this, like our partners, Legends.
Yeah.
It's about the tenant, right? So with OU as the lead tenant, and they're really clear, it's a community asset that'll be owned by a community trust, but your lead tenant, your anchor tenant's OU.
Right.
So in that case, yes.
They're fine.
Yeah. A city like Norman, in the absence of your state flagship university, maybe have a little more struggle.
So if OU is the main tenant of something like that, and somebody wants to come in and use the facility, is OU getting the income from what, like basically subleasing their space for that night when they come in and use it? Or
so operators like Legends will strike deals with the home entity. That could be the community trust, that could be the university, it could be both. They have their own economic arrangement, and those operators, that's really what they do, is they're constantly reaching out to program that facility.
Much different looking lease on a place like that, I would think, with all the complexity around.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Legends is out of where?
A lot of their core is here in Dallas because Mr. Jones.
That's what I thought.
And the Jones family and the Steinbrenners were, I think, created Legends.
Okay. That's what I was guessing it was Jerry. Yeah.
So you were mentioning before the show, like public-private partnerships and how that's a big focus of y'all's. Talk more about that. Like, what are y'all looking at there? Why is that a benefit? And Why does it make sense in this time right now, 2025?
For sure. So first I'll acknowledge a bias because, it's the one thing I've kind of done more than the next guy. So, maybe my thesis is right, maybe it's wrong, but it feels like, P3 as it's referred to now, public-private partnerships, are an avenue that larger projects are going to need to pursue in almost any environment. I mean, rents, particularly residential rents, multifamily rents, have been pretty static, cost or not. It's just hard to get deals done.
Yeah.
Institutions have been sitting on the sidelines. People feel like, the ice will thaw a little bit in 25 and we'll start seeing some real allocations in 26 to development. Well, the returns have to be there for allocations to affect. So it's kind of hard with what I look at right now for a reasonable or sizable amount of a non-nominal amount of development to occur without some third rail. Yeah. And public-private partnerships, just to get into it quickly, I'll use just a TIF, tax increment financing. Yep. You've got different nomenclature, kind of based on statute throughout the country, but it's basically taking your sales tax and your ad valorem tax, putting it on a schedule, let's say a 25-year schedule, and discounting it back. In the case of my deals, you're discounting it back and issuing bonds. So at the end of the day, you're really sharing what you're creating with the municipality. So it starts with win-win.
Yeah.
Some people use the terminology, the city's giving. I mean, if the city weren't willing to assign that incremental revenue, it's true, the deal wouldn't happen, but the city's really sharing what the developer's taking risk in creating.
Right. And they need that help as well.
They need that help as well.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times it's just mission specific, but we look at certain situations where a city's been looking at something for 6, 7, 8 years and they just want to get it done. This is a tool to do it. In addition to having incremental tax revenue. But at the end of that, and the example I use is a 25-year schedule, at the end of that, it just shifts to the city's balance sheet. So it's really a pretty dynamic win-win. And I think city managers and city staff today versus 10 years ago, it's light years of difference, just because the complexity of getting these projects done. Right. Frankly, what we talked about with the mixed-use districts, you do have these lost leaders and these things where cities are like, no, I would like to have that retail. I'd like to have that experience. I'd like to have certain aspects of maybe what a Grandscape has. And they understand that TIF or other P3 tools are the way to get there.
Interesting. Is the cities typically approaching groups like you saying, we want to do something, this is what we want, or is it the opposite? Y'all have got some land or y'all see a project and y'all approach the city? Or is it a combination?
Other than RFPs, it's usually the opposite. Cities are more knowledgeable, more receptive. I mean, I say that Frisco probably wrote the book on this, in their leadership, their former leadership. But at the margin, generally cities are more knowledgeable. But 8, 9 times out of 10, we're taking this to the city. Right. There are times, when you have an RFP that might be led by a university or an organization that the city is very much a part of. Right. But outside of that, it's usually the developer bringing the concept, and what they call is really, it's a gap analysis. If the project costs X, but it can support Y, here's the gap and how do we solve that? So it's usually incumbent on the developer to bring that to the municipality.
Interesting. Well, and what's the biggest component of these things? Is it driving the retail and driving the foot traffic, or are they all in concert, all the different assets in concert with one another? Again,
to acknowledge a bias, I'm a retail guy, so I'm going to tell you it's the retail. If you don't get that right, the rest of it's gonna really suffer. But the most sensitive, ad valorem, it takes a lot of building to really create the same amount of benefit. Is if you're doing $500 per foot or more, which you see a lot of Sunbelt high street districts doing, great areas you see, 800 plus. If you're doing that kind of retail sales volume, over 185, 200,000 feet, you're going to create a sizable event for everybody involved. Same could be said for ad valorem, but not to the same.
Yet, we ran into this quite a bit with Alamo Drafthouse, where the large project developers want this large format retailer to anchor their project with a cinema, with a stadium, with a concert venue, with whatever. And yet the practicality of, when have you ever gone to see a movie and then gone to the Rangers game? When have you ever, and yet,
Right.
do you,
It's a hell of a day.
yeah, it's a hell of a long day is what it is. It's an absolute marathon. But they want it's the catch phrase of the day of like, hey, we want an Alamo Drafthouse, we want a movie theater in this project. And when you look at it, you're like, well, wait, so you're going to go twice, and once you're going to be able to find the parking you want because there's not an event going on. And the next time you go, they're going to be getting out at the exact same time, and you're going to be stuck in that parking garage for an hour and a half. And you're never, ever going to go back to that movie theater again because it's not programmed right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, or banks, like, who's going to a bank to deposit money and then going into a basketball game? Nobody. They may ATM for something, but you can put an ATM. You don't need a full service bank branch. So
yeah, it seems like food and restaurant and bars is
F&B,
about the only thing that would really make
that's
sense.
an interesting component as well, because what's your margin on inside the arena F&B versus outside the arena F&B, and do they share in the costs and the revenues? Is the university getting a piece of percentage rents on the restaurant that's outside the arena?
Right.
Or are they fully supporting the arena food service, like with Legends? Like they're the ones getting the majority of that. So it's a really, really interesting puzzle where you can't just be like, we want to see this. Well, that may not fit into that puzzle.
What do you think, like live in Arlington outside the ballpark? Is that good programming? Because, we've been to a few games and we went to dinner or restaurants, outside there before we went into the game. That seemed like that
Time
worked
will
well.
tell, but it's pretty cool. And but it's accretive.
Yeah.
Like, that is a really cool place to go watch part of the game and then go in, or go watch something that's like, if you're wanting to see a team that's not in town and there's nobody playing at Rangers, that's a really cool venue to watch the Cowboys play if they're playing in Philly or something like that. And there's a hotel attached, so you've got that captive audience. But yeah, time will tell whether that continues to be somewhere that the public is going to go while a game is on.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. That's the reason that I don't like to go to Cowboy games, because I don't like to drive in and out of there. The game part's fine.
Yeah.
But getting in and out's not fine.
Yeah.
When we went to live, actually, that was really funny you mentioned that, because we stayed at the hotel that night. We went to a concert, stayed at the hotel, ate, drank down there, left the next day. Didn't have to worry about the rush of
Where
cars.
was the concert?
I think it was at Globe Life.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that worked.
Yeah. Good
programming.
So you bring them up. It's really interesting that the company that executed that, who's been in that line of business for generations, literally. A lot of what we focus on, our competitors focus on, larger competitors focus on, is basically activating product, right? So the same type of multi-product, the same type of office product that really is landing kind of like the star in a district that's activated, right? Well, live, the NOI really is the activation. They're in the business of owning hotels and owning the actual restaurants, as opposed to being, a third-party landlord, right? So you're seeing, and I think over the evolution of our careers, you're going to see certain retail and mixed-use operators become way more involved in the operations of some of these hospitality assets.
Yeah.
So that's giving live a lot of credit. Not everyone does. Very few groups do what the group out of Baltimore that delivered them does. And obviously they did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Even with soft goods, which you would never ever think would be something that a owner would operate. If you can eventize that.
Totally.
And you can brand it, and you can say, we're having a special Vuori clothing line sponsored by the Rangers, and that clothing store then matters there, but it doesn't otherwise. Like, you need a critical mass of at least 60,000 feet of soft goods to kind of co-brand themselves. Without that, you better have an operator that knows how to juice sales
Yeah,
there.
if it's not sports team
And get real
type
creative.
of clothing, nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it's a new ball game. If anyone's just kind of resting on their laurels, certainly the mixed use space. Well, I guess a lot of great companies in the multi space that have a great framework. But I look at guys like Vipin Ambier and other younger developers in the market that really know what they're doing and are doing exactly what I described. Taking operations in house. Biggest component for F&B is labor.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to own a hotel next door to 6 restaurants, the idea is you create a vertical there.
Yeah.
And easier said than done, because running in the restaurant and the hospitality business is a tough business.
Yeah. Nonstop adult daycare. Yeah. Guys, we're out of time.
Man, that flew. That was
It
great.
did. Trey's waving at me over there. He wants us off.
How about the victory lap? Are we ready for that?
Yeah. Yeah. And the Bronco?
Yeah.
Who's driving?
I'm not. It's Raptor. I'll flip it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that next. Guys, thank y'all so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me back. I
Yeah,
appreciate it, man.
I'm glad you came back in this new cool studio. First time recording in here.
This is awesome.
Yeah. That's what happens when you bring the big guns on. They put you in the fancy studio. Well, guys, let's do it again soon. Thanks for
Zach.
coming on. Tyler, always a pleasure. David, enjoyed it.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, we'll see you next time on the Working Title Show with Zach Sams. Thanks.